Hello everyone, and welcome to Beechtree Landscape and Design. My name is Scott Michael, the owner, and I want to give you a little tour of our nursery. And just a quick background on Beechtree Landscape. We've been in business for about 20 years. We're a design build firm, so literally we can draw, design, install, and build just about anything in the landscape industry. Our big specialty, our big niche is natural stone, but we also have an amazing private nursery here in White Marsh. We buy directly from farmers and growers, so we're not subject to availability of local re-wholesalers. We can go right to the grower source, and in many cases the Carolinas, West Virginia, Tennessee, even as far west as Oregon for direct ship plant material. So we'll give you a little tour of our nursery on this beautiful rain day, which we haven't had in a long time. So one of our big specialties is we do large specimen sized boxwoods. This is a boxwood we get out of North Carolina. It's called a D-Runk boxwood, D-E-E-R-U-N-K, D-Runk boxwood. It's a very columnar, upright, kind of cylinder-shaped boxwood, excellent for screening, grows in sun, shade, deer-proof. The deer are a big issue with a lot of planting jobs around here. So this plant is bulletproof with the deer and very, very shade tolerant. As you can see, it's actually underneath a 100-year-old oak tree right now that's healed in storage. So we use a lot of the D-Runk boxwoods. Another boxwood that we use a lot of is a dwarf conical shaped boxwood called John Baldwin. John Baldwin's an outstanding boxwood. It's disease resistant. It's very sun and shade tolerant. These particular boxwoods we got out of the Carolinas over the winter time. We have about 50 of them left. They'll grow about 2 to 3 inches a year. You can keep them sheared and maintained. This plant right now is about a 12-year-old boxwood. And so when we're installing something like this, it's already a mature size plant that could be maintained and shaped to size, so forth. So that's just a brief overview of some of our boxwood areas, and we'll take a walk over here and show you some other plant material. So we were talking earlier about the upright boxwoods that we use, tree form boxwoods, but we also use a lot of the standard foundation style boxwoods. So these varieties are in the New Gen series. This boxwood's called New Gen. It's very, very disease resistant. The big issue with boxwoods is leaf miners. These boxwoods are extremely hardy and very tolerant of leaf miner disease. Another popular boxwood that we use is called Little Missy. This is kind of our go-to very dwarf compact boxwood. These boxwoods come from Saunders Brothers, which is the premier boxwood grower on the East Coast. Been growing boxwoods for decades and decades. So this is just a little example here of one of the sections in our nursery where when we buy boxwoods, we also buy in bulk, hundreds of them at a time, so we can get nice specimen sized plants, but also secure them at a good price. And therefore we can pass the savings on to the customer and go directly to the homeowner from the grower. As we go down here in the main nursery row, a little muddy today, but some much needed rain. This is a tree slash shrub called Vitex, or a chase tree. You can see it's just starting to go out of bloom now, or just starting to go into bloom. Basically, it's a large tree version of a butterfly bush. So these literally come out of a grower's field in Roanoke Rapids, North Carolina. 7-8 foot to start with. You're talking about a 10-year-old plant right from the beginning. Can grow in full blazing sun, 100% deer proof. Fantastic plant if you want to do some color in the yard in the summertime, screening, things like that. If you look down this row here, we do a lot of crepe myrtles in the nursery, but we also do a lot of we call them single stem crepe myrtles. Most crepe myrtles are known for having 3 to 5 stems, multiple stem crepe myrtles. These particular crepe myrtles are singular stem crepe myrtles. We do 3 main types: Natchez, which is white, Muskogee, which is in bloom right there, which is kind of a lilac-y pink, and then we do a really deep fuchsia red called Red Scarlet. One of our growers specializes in crepe myrtles, and we buy directly from a gentleman named Paul Harrell at Creekside Farms, and that's one of his featured trees are crepe myrtles. And there's a right way and a wrong way to do crepe myrtles. We manicure and prune them, make sure they're all the highest quality, and make sure the heads are well maintained. So by the time this tree goes out to your property, it's a maintained tree that's pushing 8 to 10 years old. And there's more crepes if we go down this way. These are Multi-stem crepe myrtles in here. These are 20-foot tall Dur-Heat birch. Dur-Heat birch has the improved bark color to it. Can take the summer heat in Maryland. We're installing a tree like that at 18 to 20 foot tall installed, directly from the grower source. We do a lot of evergreens, a lot of green giant arborvitaes. That's a very, very popular plant. Also, we do lots of cedars. This is kind of our, what we call our starter size for a green giant. This is a 6-foot green giant arborvitae. We just went through and did a summer prune on it, so we're tightening this up for the fall. It's gonna put a secondary flush out later this summer. This thing will be gorgeous come fall. We do much larger specimen size evergreens too. We can even, any kind of specialty order, if somebody wants to order a 15 to 20 foot evergreen, as long as we know in advance, we can get it directly from the grower. So these are different types of cedars we have back in here. We do a lot of native cedars, makes an excellent hedge and a screen. This is our middle grade green giant. We just sheared it up nice and tight and full. This will put out a second flush later this summer. So by the time this tree gets to your property, it's been in our nursery for months, healed in, watered, pruned, just waiting to go out on a job site. This is what we consider about a 7 to 8 foot tall green giant arborvitae. This whole batch of green giants just got a summer haircut. Again, ready to flush out. All these are going out. Everything here you see is sold and going to a job in September and October. So we'll pre-buy plant material 6 months to a year in advance. When we do your design and have you lined up for installation, we'll actually hold your plant material here for months until it's ready to go, until the conditions are right, until your job's ready to be installed. Almost every tree you see here is sold and going to a job in Baltimore, Harford County over the next 60 to 90 days. This is one of my favorite crepe myrtles. We started using these about 3 years ago. Again, Paul Harrell with Creekside's the grower of these. If you look in the distance, that's a single stem red scarlet crepe myrtle. I'll show you over here without falling into a hole. So the head of this tree is elevated. We limb up the tree to head level. This is a perfect courtyard style tree. We can plant these around a patio area. The branching is elevated, so it creates a canopy over top the entertaining space. Get this gorgeous summer color to it. The bark on the crepe myrtles are beautiful. They'll exfoliate as the crepe myrtle starts to mature. You'll see that the bark will start to peel. It exfoliates and reveals the bark color to it. Different crepe myrtles have different types of bark. The nicest of all the crepe myrtles is a Natchez crepe myrtle. That's a white flowering crepe myrtle, but then the bark turns a cinnamon color in the fall. It's one of the nicest fall plants you'll ever see. So these are red scarlet single stems. I tagged these trees 2 years ago in the field. They were dug this spring and now they're in our nursery waiting to go out. So this tree has been in circulation in Beechtree for almost 2 years before it's ready to go out. We'll come through here. So a lot of our projects that we install, we have to fight the deer issues. Most of our jobs in Green Spring Valley, pretty much anywhere now, but mostly throughout Green Spring Valley, Pikesville, Reisterstown, Owings Mills, the deer will just decimate a landscape if you don't design it correctly and have the right plants to fight the deer issues that we're facing out there. Years ago, when I had to buy from local growers, I was just subject to what was available. You're very limited at what you can do. Now that we've learned over the years what to use and what not to use to deer-proof a landscape job, now I can ramp up years in advance, talk to my growers, have them specially grow plant material for us that are going to be very manageable and deer resistant. So this is a typical example. This is called Osmanthus Golf Tide. These came right from a grower in Virginia. This is from John Westcote Nurseries, and grown in a field, specimen size, 3.5, 4 footers, 2.5, 3 foot wide. They're on a root ball this big. You cannot find this plant locally. It doesn't exist. You have to get it from a grower source. Nobody's going to have it locally. So we buy these well in advance, and then we even keep them here. We prune them, we shape them until they're ready to go to a job site. So Osmanthus Golf Tide is like bulletproof with the deer. This is another plant in the Osmanthus family. This one's called Carl Wheeler, Osmanthus Carl Wheeler. The common name for Osmanthus is tea olive. If you're a golfer and you watch the Masters, you'll see they name the different holes after different plants, and I believe one of the holes is named tea olive, and that's Osmanthus. So it's called a false holly and tea olive. Further over here, this is a more compact version of Osmanthus called Goshiki. Goshiki has a variegated leaf to it. Almost looks like a variegated English holly. If you were to take an English holly or a variegated holly and plant it on a job site with a deer, and you were to plant this right next to it, they would just decimate the holly. The osmanthus they won't eat. Has a very, very sharp leaf to it. Nice thing about this plant is it changes colors through the season as well. Plus it's evergreen, will grow in sun and shade. Pretty much bulletproof. You can see, obviously we like them because there's a whole batch of them we brought in over here in the fall. So these come out of Virginia, out of Central Virginia, for one of our growers down there called Hawks Ridge Farms. Fantastic grower, we've been dealing with them for 15 years. So as we walk through the nursery here, we like to carry a lot of different specimen size shade trees. So this is a shade tree we use quite a bit called a Bosc elm. Elms were popular way back in the day. Dutch elm disease wiped them out. There's a lot of new varieties of elms out there. The Bosc elm is one of our favorite. I consider it an urban style tree. It has a smaller leaf to it. You can plant this in a fairly tight area. It's still going to reach 50 foot plus, has fantastic fall color to it, and the bark will actually exfoliate. So if you look up in here, I mean, this is our standard 3.5 to 4 inch caliper. Caliper is the thickness of the trunk. So quality trees are rated by caliper size, not as much height. This is about a 3.5 to 4 inch caliper. The height of this tree is about 18 feet tall. So when we install an elm tree like this, you're going to get an 18-foot, 3.5, 4 inch caliper tree installed. Just to give you an idea, we're doing this for about $950 installed, which is a steal for a tree that size. That's right from the grower source. We bring them in and they've been healed in and sitting in the nursery until the time is right, which for us, most of our tree jobs are in the fall. Other types of trees we carry trident maples. Trident maples have a much smaller leaf to them than the traditional red maples. More single stem crepe myrtles over here. This is the Natchez crepe myrtle that I mentioned earlier with the cinnamon color bark. It's hard to find a tree that, here it is going into the early part of August. You can see how the bark is already exfoliating. It's turning the cinnamon shade. It gets much darker in the wintertime. The bark actually is prettier on crepe myrtles in the fall and the winter than it is in the spring and the summer. Great, that's a great tree. Natchez single stem crepe myrtle. One of our growers likes to grow magnolias. And just to give you an idea, size-wise, this is a Bracken's Brown Beauty magnolia. It's a hardy version, basically, of the southern magnolia. Not a lot of people plant southern magnolias in this area, but it gives you that look of a southern magnolia. But it can take, it's more wind tolerant, it's a hardier plant. Bracken's Brown Beauty, this one is about 12 foot tall to start with. We can plant this magnolia in your yard, 12 foot tall, this size, for about $800. Warranty, delivery, equipment, everything. You probably can't even find one locally this size. We're going to install it for that. Another issue, again, we talked about earlier, we face with the deer is that what are you going to use for the foundation of your plant when the deer eat everything? They're going to eat English yews, they're going to eat azaleas, they're going to eat, arborvitaes, they're going to eat rhododendrons, hydrangeas. So it comes down to boxwoods, which we do a lot of the hardier new varieties, the new gen series. And we do cephalotaxis. Cephalotaxis is a fantastic substitute for an English yew. If you were to plant an English yew next to a cephalotaxis, they're going to look very similar, and they're going to decimate the English yew, where they're going to leave alone the cephalotaxis. The nice thing about this plant is it's evergreen, it has a soft foliage to it. You can prune it in a tight little ball, or you can let it grow natural, like this is starting to droop. These plants in here are in a 7-gallon pot. They're already about 3 years old. We have them in 10 and 15-gallon size. A plant this size planted is already pushing about 8 years old. So if you have a foundation area where you want some larger plants, a lot of times we'll find that older houses, the windows are higher on an older house. If you have a lot of exposed foundation area, we can go with a much taller plant. If you have an area where the windows are shorter, we can do a more compact dwarf plant. So all three here are cephalotaxis that all were directly from a grower in Virginia. We have hundreds of them. We use them on almost every job. There's also an upright version of, this is called Cephalotaxis drupacea. Drupacea, basically it's a drooping plant. There's an upright version of Cephalotaxis, and the common name for Cephalotaxis is plum yew. So we've used two basic types of plum yews. We use them in an upright form, and we use them in a spreader. So these are upright cephalotaxis, and those are the compact cephalotaxis. This is a great little plant if you want to flank the corner of a garage, or if you're doing a front landscape design and you want something that's going to grow in a cylinder shape that you can keep maintained 5-6 foot tall, keep it very cylinder-like. Again, has this almost like rubbery kind of a palm foliage to it. Very compact, easy to maintain. I have them in my house that grow really, really compact. I mean, they'll stay, in 15 years, you can keep that plant at 5 foot tall. So we go through here just to give you an idea of some other plants we have. We do some American hollies. American hollies are quote-unquote native hollies, even though there's several species of American hollies. They're hard to find right now. We've got them in at 6-footers. The American hollies will have some of the best fall color to them. Tons and tons of it. It's a bird sanctuary, awesome plant. Starting in the fall, they'll start to berry up real heavy and carry their berries right on through the fall and the early spring. So these are American hollies in here. There's some more American hollies throughout here. We have all kinds of off-the-wall specimen plants. This is a Cornelian cherry. Almost looks like a witch hazel when it blooms in the spring. It's a beautiful plant, has a yellow flower to it. These are called Virginia hollies. You can already see, here it is, middle of July. Look at the berry set already. These are going to be absolutely loaded in the fall. These are not as deer resistant as the American hollies, but if you have an area where the deer pressure is kind of moderate, this is a great plant here. Or of course no deer, it's awesome. But already loaded with fruit for the fall. It's going to be gorgeous come November, December. These plants will be loaded with color. These are Virginia hollies. We've got them directly out of central Virginia. We have different types of compact magnolias, camellias. We carry camellia. Hydrangeas are another great one. So these are hydrangeas. It's hard to find. You go to a grower or you go to a garden center or a nursery and you're going to find a hydrangea in a pot. They're going to be this big. We actually will get hydrangeas that are field grown. These are 4 foot tall field grown hydrangeas, which is a really hard find because most hydrangeas need to be grown in some partial shade. We have some growers that have shaded parts of their field and they grow specialty hydrangeas. We can do a hydrangea 4 foot tall already. Acubas, some things are deer proof, some things aren't. Acubas are basically deer food. The deer will devour them. If you don't have a deer problem, Acuba is a nice little plant that gives you some variegation to it. Almost looks like a house plant. But do not use it in the deer zone because they will destroy it. Redbuds. Redbuds are a beautiful native tree, but quite frankly, they're ugly. In the fall, they have some of the worst fall color to them. They're really not a quality tree. They kind of split open. It's beautiful for about 3 weeks of the year. So what we like to do is find, what gives you that redbud color, but doesn't look kind of like a wild native the rest of the year. So we do a couple different types of redbuds. This is one of my favorite ones. This one's called Don Egoff. It's E-G-O-F-F, Don Egoff redbud. Almost kind of like a tabletop. It comes up almost like a Japanese maple shape to it. It has the redbud leaf to it. Much, much more compact. These will flower really heavy in the spring for 3 to 4 weeks. So it gives you that traditional redbud color to it, but it's not going to get massive. And then there's another one that's more slender. This one's called Avondale. Avondale redbud has more of an upright shape. In fact, you can see the two side by side. This is a Don Egoff. It's more of a little wider span to it. This one's Avondale, grows a little more upright. But both of them are very, very dwarf trees. When the leaves shed, it almost makes like a sculpture type of look to it. It's a really interesting look. Fall color is still a traditional redbud color. It's kind of an off yellowish color, but they're fantastic in the spring. We do a lot of different specialty types of Japanese maples. This one's called a Twombly's Red Japanese maple. There's some crazy names out there for maples, but the Twombly's Red is a very narrow columnar Japanese maple. It has the cut leaf like you'd see on a bloodgood maple, which is your more common Japanese maple in the summertime, but it's more of an upright, kind of a narrow shape to it. That's an interesting tree. This is a new hydrangea we started using this year called Vanilla Strawberry. Actually gets a little bit of a kind of a pinkish color with the white. First time we've ever used them. They're gorgeous. These are from one of our growers in outside of Tennessee. So when we install your house, we put a hydrangea in, you can get 4 foot tall hydrangea to start with. We go further along here. And of course we do some of your more traditional hydrangeas, the Endless Summers, which is a very common, very, very popular hydrangea. We do Phantom, there's one called Bobo, which is a white. So we can do any type of hydrangea. So we can virtually supply you with any color, shape, style, all that in hydrangeas. So these are your more traditional Japanese maples called a bloodgood maple. We talked about a Twombly's red earlier. That's a bloodgood Japanese maple. Has the wider cut leaf too. It's not the weeping lace leaf, it's a cut leaf maple. That one's going to get much bigger, have that traditional red color to it. You'll see we have kind of different trees interspersed in through here. This is one of my favorite trees. Hard to find of any size, and I use them all the time. So it's a coral bark Japanese maple called Acer sangukaka. Cool thing about this maple is as it starts to defoliate and shed in the fall and the winter, the bark turns red. You can actually start to see the bark starting to turn red now. So it has kind of an apricot color to the leaf in the fall, and then when it sheds, it's just this brilliant, the red goes all the way to the base. It's this brilliant red bark to it. It looks better in the winter than it does in the spring and the summertime. So it's an amazing tree. We have a couple different grower sources. In fact, there's a larger one back in there. You can see it's already about 10 foot tall. This is an impossible tree to find. If you go to a local garden center, you're going to find them in little seedlings or small little pots. We'll get them in 2.5, 3-inch caliper size, 10 foot plus, just awesome plant. There's more coral barks in here. Now the difference of these coral barks from the ones we just saw was these coral barks have been in the nursery for a while, and we've limbed up the crotch of the tree. So the crotch of the tree kind of determines where the branch is going to start. Some of the trees are lower at the base. Some of the trees like to have them elevated. I like to elevate the trees to a certain point so you can do your perennials underneath them, see kind of a double layer of plants. So you've noticed these are elevated higher. So we went through and we've pruned those up to bring this up. We even take them up higher, and you can see the colors already starting to emerge in there. I mean, what tree can you plant in July and August? It's already got red and the leaves are turning kind of a yellowish color. That's an awesome tree in there. Behind there are tree hydrangeas, and we do several types. We do limelight, phantom. Those are phantom tree hydrangeas back there. Limelights have a little smaller flower to them. When we do a tree hydrangea, it's going to be 1.5 inch caliper, 7-8 foot to start with, already manicured heads to them. Back in here we do Hinoki cypresses as well. There's a million different types of cypresses out there. The Hinoki cypress, this is the true dwarf. It's called Gracilis nana. That is the true miniature Hinoki cypress, only going to grow a few inches a year. We've got them, we bring these in from Oregon, a couple growers on the East Coast as well, but mainly that comes from Oregon. Hinoki cypress, in fact, you can see, that's the growth on it this year. And the correct name of this plant is Chamaecyparis obtusa Gracilis nana compacta, something like that. So it's a compact dwarf Hinoki cypress. Gracilis nana Hinoki cypress. And these commonly get sold as the wrong variety. People will say, hey, it's a compact cypress, and next thing you know, it's 20 feet tall. These are the true dwarfs. They're only going to grow a couple inches a year. So I'm glad you enjoyed the tour of our nursery today and give you a little insight to what we do here at Beechtree Landscape and Design. Just to give you a little brief background on myself, I bought this property in 2005. I've been in the landscape business since 1986, since I graduated high school, got my home improvement license shortly after that, and I've been in the business for pushing 40 years now. When I bought this property, my main goal was to have my own nursery that I can control what plants I bring in, size, shape, whatever, go right to the grower and get them, and not have to deal with anybody in the middleman or the middle source. Besides doing a lot of plantings, which we do tons of planting jobs, we have our own construction division. We run about 8 crews every day. Half of them do construction, half of them do landscape planting jobs and maintenance as well. Our big niche is natural stone, along with having our own private nursery. We do a lot of landscape construction. So our design team, and we laugh, we have a design team. It's me and my senior designer, Steve, the 2 old guys. We draw every job in the company. There's no AI, no CAD work. It's Steve and I on a drawing board and drawing your job by hand with an amazingly detailed plan. Our construction divisions, when we do a master plan for you, we can give you a tour of the nursery, pick out your plant material that's going to go into your design, show you stone samples, different projects in the area. I have a client that I met with last week that we went out and looked at 6 different projects in one neighborhood in Bel Air. Literally one neighborhood, we had 6 different patio projects. So we're more than happy when we do your master plan. It's more than just a design. It's going to be, color selections, any revisions or renderings we need to do, a private tour of our nursery, a tour of our job sites. When you hire us for a master plan, we're going to hold your hand from start to finish. By the time we break ground on your job, you're going to see every aspect of the project. There's nothing that you're going to feel like you didn't see or didn't know you were getting into before we start the job. So, you know, we have a system here that when we start a job from start to finish, our foremen are in tune with the project. They have the scale detailed plan. Our production managers stop by almost on a daily basis. As the owner, I still go to every single job. And so we're hands-on. We're out here getting muddy with the crews. We're doing our thing. And as the owner, I will be at your job site along with my senior designer, Steve, which is a rarity nowadays. Usually your plan gets handed off to somebody, you don't see anybody anymore. We're start to finish. You're going to see us nonstop as the job goes on. We have an amazing warranty. We do a 1-year warranty on our plant material. I do a 5-year construction warranty. As a home improvement contractor, I'm required to give a 1-year warranty on anything that I install. I do a 5-year warranty on all my footers, all my stonework. Everything that we lay in concrete footers, we do a 5-year warranty. Because if you do it right, you can give a 55-year warranty. It doesn't matter. So we're going to give you an extended warranty on anything that's laid on a concrete footer, fire pit, seat wall, porch, you name it. So we have the best warranties in the business. And we feel like we've got a nice little setup here where start to finish, you know what you're going to get. From the time we come out to your house with a blank slate to literally the time we break ground to when we're finished to when we're maintaining your job 15 years down the road, 20 years down the road. So that's our goal was to keep you a happy customer and not only have you satisfied with the project when we're finished, but have you satisfied for 15, 20 years to come because we're going to maintain the property for you as well. So thank you for the visit here and look forward to seeing everybody soon.